What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Joshua McCain. We in another episode of What's Your Reason. I'm here with my boy Singa B, and I'm glad to happy that you're here, man. I appreciate you being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
As you know, we don't do long introductions. We like to get right into it so we can talk about the good stuff. I've been knowing this young man for a long time, and when I say he's like dynamic, well, let me talk to you. You're like dynamic. I've been knowing you for a while, man, and you kind of do a little bit of everything. You know, you play, you sing, you might even rap. I don't know.
Yeah,
See there, I told you. So just for the sake of the camera, tell the people a little bit about Singa B.
Well, you pretty much said it in a nutshell. Creatively, you know, make sure I have at least my hands on as much as I can on the table. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I'm more of an entrepreneur, more of a steward of the land, more of a philanthropist. I'm definitely more into cultivating productive organizations and to be able to thrive and produce great people, you know what I'm saying, ultimately. So I'm all about the community. I'm all about what I'm doing and how it affects the community.
That's one of the most unique descriptions I've heard from a musician. Most musicians start out talking about music, you know, and stuff like that. But you went straight into philanthropy and all the other stuff that you do, which I applaud that because it's showing that you're more than just music.
For sure.
Which I'm sure plays into a lot of your music. You're able to do different things. It gives you more to write about, more experiences.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the instrumentation, the instruments that you play. How many instruments you play?
I play as many as I can get my hands.
What's your main instrument?
My main instrument, obviously, is the guitar.
The guitar? How did you get started on that?
I taught myself how to play when I was 4 years old.
4? Okay, okay. Yeah. What did you listen to first? What kind of music did you listen to?
I can't recall the first person that I saw on guitar, but the earliest music that I can recall is like Babyface, Brian McKnight.
Okay.
Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley.
So did you try to learn some of the songs when you first started out by listening to them, or how did you get started?
Of course, I tried to imitate and tried to replicate what they were doing. And tried to really understand what they were putting down, so I knew how to pick it up and do my thing with it.
Exactly. Did you play in church?
On and off. Yeah.
On and off. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about. Are you from Memphis?
Yeah, I'm from Memphis. Yeah.
Tell us about growing up in Memphis and just the culture of being around all these musicians and rich music history. How did that influence you?
Man, that's a mouthful because we standing on so many icons and pioneer shoulders and so many legends, and I'm a Stax Academy alumni student. I went through the program there at the Stax, so I learned about the history of the Stax artists, and me being blues and having Bill Street right here. I also learned about B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King, little Jimmy King, and all the other kings and kings. So me just recognizing that and understanding that, I knew that there's so many other creative people, but the one that's going to take that torch really has a responsibility, you know what I'm saying? And it's not just to be on stage and to have fun. That's ultimately one of the gifts and the rewards that come with it. But it's when you're in front of an audience of people, a multitude of people, what do you have to say? What message are you going to be able to give them? What can you offer them, and what can you receive from them at the same time?
True. Other
than just currency, you know what I'm saying? Something spiritual happening on that stage and in that audience. Yeah.
Makes sense. Talk a little bit about Toni Tony Toni and how that opportunity came about. We talked about it off camera before, but let's just talk about how that opportunity came.
Man, I opened up for them probably in 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I opened up for them, I didn't get a chance to meet them, but I'm sure down the line they've heard who was opening up them. Fast forward to 2018, 2019. Right when COVID happened, they were performing in LA, and I popped out at their show and was backstage with them and just politicking and network. So on this last tour that they just did in 2023, it was I think it's called Just Me and You tour.
Okay.
And it was with Raphael Sadiq, Dwayne Wiggins, and the whole Toni family. And on this particular tour, I made sure I got backstage again, but this time I didn't want to just let them know that I existed. I want them to know what I do. So I got a chance to bump into Dwayne Wiggins, and I sang one of my blues original songs that I wrote. And he was like, man, as soon as we get off tour, I'm gonna call you and I want you to come to my studio in Atlanta. We can record some stuff. And fast forward from there, now I'm on tour with them, and we've got a bunch of songs together. And right now they're producing my album, and I signed a management deal with them as well. So they're managing it as well.
Okay. So That's well. First of all, congratulations, man. That's huge, especially for not only for the city but for yourself personally. That's huge. Let's talk about. Let's rewind a little bit for a second. Let's talk about blues.
Okay.
I hear a lot of blues in your music, in your voice.
Yeah. I mean, really, I'm 33 years old. I could have had 30 years to decide that I wanted to be a blues artist.
Yeah.
Plus, being from Memphis and having so many young and old and in between blues musicians everywhere, it was easy for me to pick it up. And in fact, I had already picked up blues. I knew how to do blues, but I never decided to choose it as my own genre that I wanted to pursue. In fact, I wanted to do like a mix of hip hop and acoustic. You know how you want to be creative and set your own imprint. So just as of last year, I decided to leave Memphis to because I had performed all over here in a lot of venues, big and small, and I feel like the average person walking down the street didn't know who I was, and that didn't help when it come to me doing business and trying to put some food on my table for my family. So I figured that I need to leave the city of Memphis to find my tribe, find the people that's looking for someone like me, the people that I'm looking for, you know what I'm saying? And so I decided to go up the street to Nashville, and I went up the street and I ended up meeting a very nice gentleman by the name of Mike Turney. I call him Papa T. He's the owner of a barbecue restaurant. Actually, it's the last juke joint in Nashville called Mama Zeke's juke joint in Hermitage, Tennessee. Okay. So I met him and I was doing some cover songs inside of his restaurant. And he was like, hey man, I love what you're doing. You got any originals? I was like, man, I got a bunch of originals. You know, which one you want to hear? Yeah. He was like, well, hold on, slow down, young man. Do you have any blues originals? Man, you got me on that one. I ain't got no blues original. He was like, well, tell you what, you come up with a blues original song, man, and well, you can just come up with a blues song. We'll pick it up from there.
Right.
And he was like, what you doing later on? I was like, well, I'm planning on going back to Memphis because my mom's brother passed away. I'm gonna call him Uncle Jeff, and my mom called me and asked me to come back to Memphis to be his pallbearer. So I was like, I was planning on leaving either today or tomorrow. He was like, well, tell you what, you come back tomorrow, and I put some money in your pocket so you have some gas money to get back home, and you just do what you just did. You just perform for an hour or however long you want to, and I just put some gas money in your pocket before you leave. And I was like, all right. And so this is the owner of the establishment telling me this. So I'm taking it in my mind. He sees something in me, you know what I'm saying? He sees opportunity. So I said, man, I'm not gonna take advantage of this opportunity. I'm not gonna waste it. So I went back to my truck. I was sleeping in my truck while I was out in Nashville, and I wrote a blues song real quick that night. And the next day I performed that blues song. And after my set, he was like, man, what song was that you performed, that Don't Play With My Money song? And I was like, oh, that's my song. He said, I thought you didn't have any blues songs. I said, man, I wrote that last night after you asked me to write one. He said, boy, you kidding, you something else. So, that kind of really trajected me into what I'm doing now. After I came home to Memphis, I wrote a couple more songs. One song was called Uncle Jeff, and another song was called Nothing New. And I sent that to Al Capone. And realistically, to kind of reverse it a little bit, to rewind, Al Capone, he's been doing something called rap mixed with hip hop, like rap blues. And he's been doing that for probably it's 2024. He's been doing that for at least that I know of, 5 years strong. Okay. And so I've been his guitar player while he's been rapping on top of like blues instrumentals. Wow. And he's actually got like blues legends on some songs with him as well. So he's really paying respect and really trying to take it to a different plateau without just rapping on some samples of blues. He's actually really, trying to integrate with it.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Al Capone, man.
Yeah, he dropped an EP called Rap Blues, man. It's on YouTube. I'm on pretty much like 75% of all the songs on the album, but it's dope, man. It's really dope. So me watching him do that, I figure I can rap on some of the songs, mix it with the singing, and then I produce as well. I make beats and I produce for a lot of artists. So I just did it all myself. I sent it to him, those 3 songs, the Don't Play With My Money, Nothing New, and Uncle Jeff, and I sent it to Papa T. And both of them was like, man, who's making this music of yours? I was like, this is me, I'm recording it myself, and I'm doing it on myself. And I was like, man, he was like, man, I need you to start making my beats for me. And then Pop was like, man, whenever you get done with that funeral, you come back to Nashville because we need to finish what we started. You know what I'm saying? So it ended up turning to, I recorded an album in Ocean Way, which is like a legendary studio in Nashville that recorded so many great country artists and blues artists, from Tim McGraw to Keith Urban to Taylor Swift to Katy Perry, Three Doors Down, Sugar Land. I mean, the list goes on. Eric Gales, Kingfish. And so they was very interested in what I was doing. They was like, man, what you got right here is something what we call lightning in a bottle. You know what I'm saying? This is something that's that is timeless. It's traditional and it's fresh at the same time. And when we would love to record this, so they record my album, and you know, I that was the music that I was showing Dwayne, and he was like, "Man, let me produce this album for you." So now,
Wow.
Toni Tony Tony's producing the album.
Wow,
So,
that's such an amazing story, man. And congrats, man.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, we down here at the historic Beale Street.
Yeah.
Talk about the influence of blues in particular on your music. When I first moved to Memphis, I didn't know a lot of people, so my obvious was just to come down here, and I met a lot of people on Beale Street, a lot of musicians,
Right.
and I actually started playing down here.
Right.
And playing on Beale Street kind of, you know, it will, if you're not into a certain type of music, you will have to learn to pick it up real fast.
Yeah, of course.
And it kind of made me a different musician, because I wasn't really strictly into jazz and soul.
Yeah.
But down here, you got to know some blues.
Yeah.
So I really got my blues chops up, and it really just kind of opened my eyes, because you may be playing this way 1 minute. You know how Beale Street goes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about from one Beale Street vet to another. How is it, just quickly, the influence of just being down here? Because it's more than just playing down here.
Yeah.
You see so many tourists from all over the world who anybody at any given second can stop you and, hey, I'm from
New Zealand,
Yeah.
Amsterdam,
Yeah,
Australia,
exactly.
Switzerland, Russia, Germany,
everywhere.
Italy,
Exactly.
London. They come from all over the world. to come here.
Exactly. A lot of people think, especially on the local scene, they think, okay, Beale Street, playing on Beale Street as a musician is really not, it's really not a glamorous gig at all, but you meet a lot of people here. So let's talk about shortly about the influence of on Beale Street, just being in this culture.
Man, to be honest, it's the ecosystem here is unhealthy. It's unhealthy, man. It looks touristy and glamorous in that perspective, but realistically, it's this is the oldest establishment. I mean, even though it was closed down at one point and rebuilt, this isn't the original Beale Street, but this still is the embodiment of what Beale Street is. It's the oldest living establishment here in the city, you know what I'm saying? And for the musicians to be getting paid nothing. These guys perform for tips.
Exactly.
For the bartenders and the managers to be struggling with, you know, other staff members for respect and for organization and unity, and for people not to be stealing stuff, and people not to be stealing the musicians' equipment, or people not to be breaking in your cars, or for musicians to have a parking space around here. You know, it's really, people come, like you just said, from all over the world on this street for the musicians. You know what I'm saying? If they wanted to get a drink, or if they wanted to get a food or barbecue, there's so many options here. I mean, we got Tops, there's Rendezvous, there's Payne's, so many options. So they don't specifically come down here for the food. If they want to drink, there's so many fine establishments for great drink selections. So they don't specifically come down here for the drinks. They come down here for the culture of the musicians. Yeah, Memphis is known for crime. Yeah, Memphis is known for all kind of negative things. But also at the same time, you know, these artists down here, they depict and they reflect not only the good times and also the bad times. And that's what the people really want to experience. That's what they really want to be a part of. Some people move here, they rent houses here in Memphis just to come to Beale Street every day, and just to go to Elvis' house, and just go to Stacks Records or Sun Records, literally just to feel like a Memphian, but every day do something different that a Memphian would do. And for us to have such an influence on not just Memphis, not just Tennessee, not just the United States, but the whole planet, it says a lot. And for the economy to show that, you know, the musicians get the last of the bottom of the barrel, it's not a good thing, you know what I'm saying? And it's beautiful to see so many great musicians blossom from here, so many great artists, stories be told from here. And I think the struggle of it is what makes the blues and what makes the artistry. And at the same time, it's just, it's a bittersweet thing. That's why so many artists have to leave here to find a different type of infrastructure to support their
it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, man. I was just talking to Jerome Chisholm the other day, and he was saying the same sentiments.
Yeah, I know Jerome. He performs at BB King. We was actually roommates on a cruise ship.
Oh, wow. Shout out to Jerome Chisholm.
Yeah, shout out Jerome.
He was my first guest, actually. But yeah, so we're gonna got a few more questions. We're gonna get you out of here.
All right.
The name of this show is "What's Your Reason?" And it's basically the reason why. You know, everybody has a why, and I feel like your why is important. Your why is going to determine how far you go. If if you're doing it to be seen or for the money, it's only going to be limited. You know, you really have to be in it for the long haul.
Right.
So as far as what you do, what's your why?
My why is because it's my passion, but not necessarily a selfish reason. My passion is to be able to be the voice of the people. I'm learning now that the music industry changes, it's evolving. Nothing ever stays the same, but more particularly for a city like Memphis that breeds creatives, it doesn't actually breed an infrastructure. It don't breed a network for us to be able to thrive and coexist in. So not just for people like myself who are musicians, but people like you, podcasters, people who are bartenders, people who do culinary, people who do construction. I know everybody kind of needs a space and place to where we can honestly be able to network and work together and collaborate. So that's what I'm aiming towards, to be able to provide some type of stream where we can all flow into and be able to find one another, and not ultimately need to rely on the system or rely on any type of company that's at the top at one point in time. We can be able to work with them and be able to work with ourselves more importantly. So I'm really in the fight of it. I know that a lot of people doing the streams, million likes, million comments. Some of it's fake, most of it's fake.
Exactly.
But I understand that it's to make impressions, to show what the value is, and my value is in the people. So that's what my aim is really for.
That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So where can we find you? Tell the people they can find you at.
Man, I'm all over the internet. You can check me out at Singa B. That's Singa, my last name B. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, MySpace, Facebook, everywhere. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you doing this for me, man. We had a little problem at first, but we worked it out, So
God is always in the mix.
Oh yeah, always in the mix, man. Yeah. Once again, I'm Joshua McCain. This is What's Your Reason. I always know your why. Make sure it means something. I'll catch you on an episode. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.